A very good evening to all the participants who have joined us today. We are thrilled to have you joined us today in the fourth installment of our webinar series. This PowerPoint session is specifically designed for teachers, academic coordinators, and the leaders of the school. Today, we'll be focusing upon some of the key concepts that the entire school. I think So today's session is all about starting and preparing the academic year 2025 and 26. Today we'll start by exploring the key elements of our annual planner and how it fits in with your planning and your classroom activities. And we will also talk about SAFAL integration into your classroom activities, your assessments, and your annual planning. Today, we have our key speakers and panelists who have joined us having experience of more than 20 years in education field. But before we start, I would request all the participants to type their names in the chat box along with the name of your school and also location. This helps us to issue the certificates to all the participants who have invested their valuable time in connecting with us and gaining some useful insights from this session. So today we have Ms. Tanushri. She is the academic head at Entab Infotech Private Limited. And we have master faculties, Ms. Nitika and Ms. Shaman. So let's get started. And in the very beginning, I would like to invite Ms. Tanushri. Ms. Tanushri, my question to you is how any school leader or a teacher can effectively prepare their annual planning, and how does it sync with different things, different activities happening in the school throughout the year. So over to you, Mr. Rishi.
Thank you, Mr. Jatin. So, namaskar to one and all present in this webinar series. As we begin today's session, we know that schools across India are either well into or just beginning their journey for the academic year 25-26. So, whether you have already settled into the new session or are just getting started, one thing is certain. That is, aligning with NEP 2020 and NCF 2023 is now no longer optional. Its seamless integration in the school academic calendar is really very, very essential. Also, with NCERT's newly updated textbooks, we all have already, the NCERT has offered us with grade 3, grade 4, grade 6 and grade 7 NCERT new updated textbooks, and even 5th and 5th and grade 8 books we are waiting for. And with the recommended policy shift, we definitely know that the schools have already started making meaningful changes in their planning and teaching. So the main agenda for today's webinar will be to focus on two critical aspects. Number one, teachers' preparedness for the new academic session and the seamless integration of SAFAL into school planning and practice. Our goal is to support educators with clear, actionable strategies to align with NEP 2020 and NCF 2023. Also ensuring that SAFAL becomes a meaningful and manageable part of the academic framework. Now, before we dive into our main focus, that is SAFAL integration, let's quickly revisit the key elements that is shaping this new phase of education. The 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. We are all aware of this revised curriculum structure, which divides the school education system into 4 stages: foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary, each aligned with child's growth. Now, here it has become very essential to have clearly defined curricular goals. I repeat, clearly defined curricular goals, competencies, and learning outcomes for every stage and level. For this, educators can refer to NCF-SE 2023, where the goals, the competencies, and outcomes from the foundational to the senior stage are clearly mentioned. So we have to see that how well we integrate these goals and competencies within our lesson plans. And if we look over here, the next thing which is very important is the foundational literacy and numeracy. At this very base of this structure, that is the foundation stage, it is expected that all educators, or I would say all schools, should ensure in making that every child can read and do the basic mathematics by grade 3. That is actually the goal of Nipun Bharat mission, and its priority we must all work towards emphasizing on literacy and numeracy using different methods, play-based way, learning by doing, inclusive of activities, and age appropriate. We have to see that these methods that we take into integration with the curriculum is age appropriate. Next, very, very important, experiential and competency-based learning. We all know learning is now expected to be experiential and competency-based. This means we have to prioritize real-world application. We have to ensure that emphasis should be more on hands-on learning. Let the children experience. When they experience, they observe. From their observation, they reflect, observe, and then they draw inferences. So it is very essential. Nowadays, you educators will agree with me. I have been teaching in school for a long time. Every time I felt that when I enter the class, there were some faces who were looking up to me and giving me they give it like this: why I am studying this? Why I have to study this? Am I going to study this in future? Or how is it going to help me? So, the purpose needs to be made very clear to the student. Until and unless we connect it to the real life, whatever we are teaching, even if it is fraction in mathematics or reading comprehension in language, or in science we are teaching combustion, everywhere the purpose need to be made very clear to the students. So when we speak in terms of experiential learning, we also have to ensure that how we are shifting from the conventional lesson plan to a more experiential learning lesson plan. So here we have to make ourselves include those methods and technology that, or technique, I would say, specific techniques to be used in the class, which will make the learning more experiential. Next is integration of Indian knowledge system. This is another core area to focus. With this revised NCERT textbooks, I just give you an example, just see grade 6 social science book or science or even mathematics, how well they have integrated the Indian knowledge system to it. We had the webinars earlier related to the NCERT updated syllabus. There you can refer to and see that how even like blending chemistry with history, geography with physics, mathematics with history. So that blend and it's about the love and respect and pride for being an Indian is well now being reflected in these NCERT textbook chapters. So we also have to see how well we integrate that in our curriculum. Next is multilingual education. This is also one of the key pillars. The policy, the new education policy is encouraging the use of mother tongue, use of home and regional languages as a medium of instruction until at least grade 5. However, it is not only the regional language or the mother tongue, we have to also see, and it is also promoting multilingual competencies throughout a child's education journey. So whether we all know we have language 1, language 2, third language and foreign language also integrated. So the more the child is competent with multilingual, it is more beneficial for them. So we have to see how seamlessly we integrate in our curriculum the multilingual education. Now, next is about, we are in the world of artificial intelligence, technology driven learning process. So here also, when we are looking forward to having a curriculum, we need to see how to enhance access and engagement of technology enabled learning. This needs to be prioritized. We as educators need to empower ourselves. As a school, as management has to look forward to how to empower teachers and facilitate them with the new technology so that they blend it in the hybrid learning model. So it's about promoting digital literacy and hybrid learning models. Now, the next is art and physical education integration. Since 2019, art integration is now well integrated within the curriculum structure. This is required for the holistic development. We have to see how well we blended certain interdisciplinary project-based learning, I would say, in terms of integrating art and physical education in core subjects rather than as a co-curricular activity. We have to bring it into the mainstream study of the individual. So we have to plan certain activities which will promote art integration and physical education. That means the core subject, the study of like maths, science, social science should be well integrated with art. It can be both performing art and fine art. It can be in terms of physical education, but we have to integrate the same with our curriculum structure. Then, of course, very, very important is the development of 21st century skills. We have to prepare the students for the future. The development of 21st century skill is essential. Now, how that is done? We have to ensure that how to emphasize more on problem solving skill, critical thinking, analytical approach, the creativity of the child, how collaboratively they perform a certain thing, and how they are communicating with each other. So again, if I say, see, when it is terms of art integration or physical education integration, we talk about in terms of holistic development. So when we are building 21st century skills, we have to see that how these project-based learning, which are team building, where they work in a team or a group, these skills get enhanced. Further, what is going to happen if we move step by step in this way? The next step is about the holistic progress card. Assessment system, it is evolving. We are shifting from the traditional report card, which is getting replaced by holistic progress card. Now, when I talk in terms of holistic progress card, many schools have already started implementing HPC, and basically it can start from the foundational stage, foundational preparatory, because suddenly children who are in grade 10th and we replace the traditional report card with HPC won't work, because this is, it will be a continuous process. Children who are in grade 1, smoothly as they move to the higher grade, their portfolio will get developed. So how HPC need to work on? We have to offer a more comprehensive, formative and descriptive overview of student. Now, here again, one thing is very essential, that whatever assessment is done under HPC, there has to be certain activities which will get assessed under HPC. You all must have gone through the CBSE portal to check on the rubrics, the assessment pattern. There you have seen that if I am to assess a child, whether it is the child's own self-reflection, peer evaluation, or finally the teacher's evaluation of the child, it is essential that there has to be certain activity, theme-based activity, on the basis of which the child is being evaluated or assessed. So this is a blend. We have to see how HPC activities will integrate with the HPC report card. Another thing, that is the vocational and life skill education. This is again an important aspect. From grade 6 onwards, students need to be introduced to vocational and life skill education. Basically, we need to prepare them for the real world, what they are going to face. That is a very early career awareness. At this point, I personally believe it is not only we as educators who will help the child to understand their inbuilt skill, which they are not aware of. With the growing age, they will get to know that what is their inclination towards. But here you need the support of parents. So ensure that when you are having PTM, the parent teacher meet, please ensure that you are discussing with the parents, motivate them, that first of all, the parents need to be motivated that they should support their child if they are choosing a particular vocational skill. They should not be disheartened, disappointed, or demotivated. Like if I find myself good in fine arts, my parents should also motivate me that this is one of the career which I can take in future. So here I think more than motivating children, because they are with these skills within inside, but here we need to interact with parents, have a good communication with them, and help them to understand that a child's own personal interest is how much important. Next is, so if we see all these key additions that we need to add to 2025-26 curriculum, we have to also ensure inclusive and equitable education. Means we have to ensure that we need to support for diverse learning need. We as educators, as teachers teaching, the diverse learning need of the student of a particular class section, we have to look forward to. We have to see how to satisfy each learner according to their need. And then we should also promote emotional well-being and foster gender sensitivity, because these are the integral, they should be the R, I would say these are not the part, but it should be the integral part of our curriculum. Our assembly, a few days back, I think just 2 days back, there was a complete report on it on newspaper, that how schools need to integrate all the different types of emotional well-being, vocational courses and all. So we have to see how we will blend it, whether it is an assembly, whether it is a general discussion in the class, how a class teacher can motivate a child according. Everything is not textbook teaching. Textbook teaching has now become just a very one part of it. We have become a facilitator. Children know everything. We have to just guide them, motivate them, and put them on a track which is best for them. And underpinning all these reforms is the continuous capacity building of teachers through professional development. We all know the 50-hour capacity building has become an essential part. It's both the side. We know CBSE is definitely going to provide the support to the schools for the capacity building. But at the same time, we as educators, there are a lot of things available on the CBSE side. Reading, sharing, and discussing is what important. Maybe like if I am a group of 5 teachers or 5 educators, we take different things and just explore it and then share with our colleagues and then share it. That also is a part of capacity building. So basically, it's time management and the sharing and the planning which will enhance us to a better level. We as educators, we know we are the best, but there is always a learning that goes on, keeps on going on and on. Next is not the last or the least, but we have to ensure a stronger parent community engagement, which together will build a collaborative ecosystem for student success. So whatever the key additions are there, definitely as a teacher, as an educator, as an HOD or a coordinator of the school, you may have already planned in your 2025-26 curriculum. We are looking forward to be a support to the school that how it can be further enhanced. Here I would also like to suggest that educators who have missed our previous webinars on like art integration or holistic progress card or teachers preparedness, kindly visit the recorded session on our YouTube channel. These sessions provide a clear and detailed understanding of how effectively you can enrich your academic plan. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Nitika and Ms. Shamali to share their insights on the seamless integration of SAFAL into the academic session 25-26.
Good evening, everyone. As just mentioned, SAFAL has now become an essential part of all schools' academic frameworks. This means it's time for us to gear up and prepare ourselves to make the most of this new approach. But let's first understand what SAFAL is. SAFAL is structured assessment for analyzing learning. But what sort of assessment is it? Well, it is a competency-based assessment developed by the CBSE. It aligns very well with the vision of the National Education Policy 2020, which aims to move beyond rote memorization and focus on the application of knowledge. SAFAL is designed to evaluate the students of grades 3, 5 and 8. Now let us understand why specifically these grades.
Well, grades 3, 5 and 8 are very crucial stages in the learning journey of a student. Grade 3 marks the end of the foundational stage where a learner acquires the basic learning skills. At grade 5, which is the end of the preparatory stage, he has already acquired the basic skills, while at grade 8, that is the end of the middle stage, a student is ready to take up the advanced studies. So, that is why these grades have been selected by CBSE. Well, should we now move towards purpose of SAFAL?
Absolutely. Well, its purpose is to support a competency-based education system where learning means understanding, applying, and thinking critically.
The second purpose is to measure school performance on key competencies. Here, the students are assessed and a consolidated school level performance is presented so that the school can devise adequate teaching strategies to bridge these learning gaps.
And most importantly, it helps schools identify where academic support is needed so that teachers and management can plan targeted support like extra practice or small group sessions to help students improve in the areas where they find difficulty. Let's now discuss the scope and coverage of SAFAL.
Just as SAFAL selected grades 3, 5 and 8 as we just discussed, it has selected a few important subjects as well for the assessment from these particular grades. At grades 3 and 5, it assesses language, environmental studies and mathematics. Now these are very important subjects. Language, as we all know, builds communication skills, whereas environmental studies helps a student to integrate science with social awareness, and mathematics helps in building problem solving skills. At grade 8, in place of environmental studies, science is being assessed. Science forms the backbone of middle stage learning as It promotes the skill of inquiry through questioning, observation, and of course, experimentation. So, can we now move towards the how the SAFAL assessment takes place?
Well, let's discuss which schools are covered under SAFAL. Well, these assessments are not confined to just a few schools. SAFAL is applicable to all government and CBSE affiliated private schools across the country. Whether a school is in a metro city or a rural village, whether it's Kendriya Vidyalaya or a CBSE private school, SAFAL is meant for every such school. Let's now take a quick look at the timing of SAFAL and when it is usually conducted.
As we all know that SAFAL is not like any term and exam. So it is taken by CBSE once annually during the academic year. Further, it is also important that we now discuss how schools would come to know about this particular timing schedule.
Well, schools are notified well in advance by CBSE. You can always check the official CBSE website for updates and detailed guidelines. We all know how school works. Term end examinations, revisions, results, report making, and these traditional examinations have been a part of our education system for years. But now there is SAFAL, another kind of assessment. So let's understand how SAFAL is different from traditional exams.
Yes, very correct. SAFAL is very different from the traditional exam pattern. Our traditional exams that schools take is entirely reliant on a copybook concept where a student writes an exam based on his or her memory. But this is not the case in SAFAL. Here, instead of memorization, his conceptual understanding, competencies, and analytical power is tested. Let me explain this with an example. In class 8 under science, a student learns the conditions for combustion. So, if a question on combustion comes, he has to write the conditions required for combustion, which are a combustible material, oxygen, and the attainment of ignition temperature. However, SAFAL tests the application of this knowledge in a real life situation. So, SAFAL will pose a question that why after a light rain, a boy attempting to lit a campfire is not able to do so? Now, this question requires analysis and application of the existing knowledge of combustion, with which the student will answer that since the wood is damp, the moisture in the wood is preventing the attainment of the ignition temperature, and that is what is hampering combustion. Further, let us look into one more important difference between SAFAL and the traditional exam pattern.
Well, traditional exams are summative. They tell us what students have learned at the end of a term. But SAFAL is different. It is diagnostic and formative. It not just tells us what students know, but where they need support. Look at this sample report card on language competencies. It shows how the students are performing across three key areas: retrieve, interpret, and reflect. We can interpret from this SAFAL report that students demonstrate strong skills in retrieving information. This data shows steady progress in interpreting the information, but need focused support in reflecting on the information. This is the power of SAFAL.
Moving on, let's see what schools actually need to do to take this SAFAL assessment.
Firstly, check the CBSE SAFAL portal for official updates, circulars, and timelines. Then, school must register themselves and upload the required school data before the deadline. Next step is to choose the mode of examination. Schools can opt for online or offline mode. If the school choose online mode, school gets access to the detailed question paper via the SAFAL portal. Ensure device and internet connectivity. Login credentials are also provided to each student. After the test, responses are submitted automatically. If the schools opt for offline mode, schools can download and print the question papers from the portal. Students will write the answers on paper in the classroom just like regular written test, and schools can then scan and upload them on the portal for further processing. Now that we know what schools need to do, let's discuss about the school's readiness.
Yes, institutional readiness of school is a very crucial part of doing well in a SAFAL assessment. As we all know that students need to take SAFAL assessment when they are at grades 3, 5 and 8. So, when a grade 3 student appears for a SAFAL test, he is not studying separately for SAFAL. Rather, he already has the prior knowledge and experiences from earlier grades. The focus now shifts from rote memorization to how he actually applies this existing knowledge in a real life situation. That is what is tested by SAFAL. So, accordingly, we as teachers also have to design an annual pedagogical plan with an appropriate teaching learning process so that the students can experience, observe, draw inferences, and apply them in the real life. So, this is how the students will be able to polish their core competencies as per the requirements of SAFAL. We all are aware that experiential learning, that is learning by doing, is being greatly advocated by NEP 2020. So, therefore, it is essential that teachers make the teaching process experiential by using a blended teaching process using both digital as well as experiential learning tools. Further, can we now delve into the actual assessment process?
Of course, well, SAFAL is not a pass or fail test. There are no ranks, no grades. Its main goal is to understand how students are learning. The questions come in different formats like multiple choice, short answer, case based, depending upon the grade level. All questions are application based and they are supported by images, graphs, stories, tables, etc. to assess students' conceptual understanding and their ability to apply the knowledge. Each question is carefully designed and mapped using strong frameworks like Bloom taxonomy, and they are very well aligned with competency-based learning outcomes as per the National Education Policy. So, as teachers, so as teachers, it's important to shift our teaching approach, moving beyond just helping students to remember facts and instead guiding them to understand and apply, analyze, and evaluate information. Let's now discuss the structure of SAFAL assessment framework.
Yes, structure holds the key in understanding the entire assessment pattern. Now, the question papers for all the subjects covered under the SAFAL assessment takes into account four main elements. The first is domain, that is the main theme or the fundamental concept under which topics and subtopics will fall. Under a domain comes the second element, that is the strand, which are different topics that are mapped with the third element of competencies. And we all know that competencies are the key knowledge areas. Each question falling under a domain, strand, and competency is then aligned to a certain level, that is, whether it is easy, moderate, or difficult. Now, SAFAL calls this the proficiency levels, and these are of four types: below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced.
Well, proficiency levels help us understand how well a student is learning. Let us understand this with an example. If grade 5 students can solve grade 3 questions, they are at level 1, which means students need support to build basic skills. If grade 5 students can solve grade 4 questions, they are at level 2, which means the students need help to reach grade level understanding. If grade 5 students can solve grade 5 level questions, they are at level 3, which means they are on track. And if they are able to solve higher order thinking skill questions, they are at level 4, which means they are performing at or above grade level. Now, let's look at one example of the SAFAL assessment framework of grade 8 mathematics. On your screens, you can see a table in which the critical strand shown under the domain number and operations is decimals, which assess the critical competency that solve operations using decimals. Now let's look at a simple test item aligned with the same domain, strand, and competency. This particular example on your screen shows how SAFAL's framework links competencies, learning outcomes, and proficiency level to design meaningful and diagnostic questions. Now let's look at a few more examples from other subjects covered under SAFAL.
Yes, most certainly. On your screens is a detailed breakup of a part of grade 5 EVS curriculum where the domain is life science with a strand family and friends, work and play. Now, this is attached to a competency, that is, recognize the type of work people do and relate the changing nature of work at home and outside. So, accordingly, a basic level question on this domain, strand, and competency could now be seen on your screens. Similarly, another example for grade 3 English is now being flashed on your screens. Here, the domain is language and the strand is expressive language with a given competency and an aligned questions. Here, I would like to mention that the grade 3 questions are mostly of story or passage based type.
So I hope you all have understood how each framework and item is designed to assess the key skills at right level. Moving forward, let's dive into the heart of SAFAL, that is the evaluation procedure.
Yes, since the assessment pattern of SAFAL is very different from the traditional exams, the evaluation procedure is also very unique. Let me elaborate this a bit. The first step is to collect the raw score. Now, what is a raw score? Suppose there is a question paper carrying 50 questions of 1 mark each, and a student answers 40 questions correctly. So, the raw score is then 40.
We know that SAFAL assessments are received in different sets. Some may be easier, some may be challenging. So how does SAFAL ensure fair scoring for all students in such a system?
Yes, here comes the role of rationalized evaluation. Now, CBSE takes utmost care to carry out evaluation in a justified and fair manner. For this, it uses the scaling process whereby the raw scores are converted into scale scores using different statistical methods. Let me explain further. Suppose one student takes an easy test and scores 85 out of 100, and another student takes a difficult set and scores 65 out of 100. Now, what is the first impression? That the first student has fared better than the second one. However, here comes the role of scale scores by CBSE, whereby the scale scores the raw scores will be converted into the scale scores, and the first student will get 250 and the second student will get 300. So with the final scale scores, it is evident that the second student fares better than the first. This is how the CBSE adopts the rationalized evaluation procedure. Now, can we move towards the reporting of the results under SAFAL?
Certainly. Let's see how SAFAL reporting helps us understand student learning. On your screen, you can see a sample report that is on school performance on SAFAL Grade 5 EVS. It shows how students performed in different environmental studies skills grouped into 4 proficiency levels. The report highlights key strengths and areas of improvement. These insights guide teachers and school to provide targeted support and helps the students improve their understanding. Well, this data is kept confidential and is not shared in public, and it is never used to pass or fail a student.
Next, this report is divided into performance bands, each representing a range of reading proficiency scores and corresponding grade level expectations, as can be seen in this sample report. So, as per this report, school XYZ falls under band 4, whereas the national benchmark for grade 5 is band 3. In addition, CBSE also prepares consolidated reports region wise, even for states and districts as well. Moving on, another crucial matter is the overall stakeholder engagement in this entire SAFAL process.
Yes. Now let's look at the role of stakeholders like teachers, principals, and parents. Let's see how teachers and principal use this information to support students better. With SAFAL reports, they identify what students have learned well and where they need extra support. This helps them tailor the teaching strategies to meet the students' needs. They also engage with parents to discuss about the progress report and the areas of improvement. Teachers can plan targeted support and extra practice, giving children the attention they need to catch up.
But here I feel even the parents have an equally important role to play. They need to understand the strengths as well as the weaknesses of the child and work for improvement. At the same time, collaboration with the teachers is very important, backed by adequate home support. Last but not the least, continuous monitoring is required for ensuring a sustained improvement in the learning curve of a child. So, to round up today's discussion, it can be said that CBSE has come up with SAFAL as a potent analytical tool that pinpoints the learning gaps at a school level. This helps the schools and teachers to devise adequate strategies to improve the competencies of the students.
So, SAFAL empowers teachers, supports students, and strengthens the schools. by shifting the focus from marks to meaningful learning. Over to Mr. Jatin.
Thank you so much, Miss Nitika. And I would also like to express my gratitude to Miss Shamali and Miss Tanushri for providing us such wonderful insight and information about the annual planning and the essential elements of annual planning, along with the entire structure of SAFAL, and when we can do it, how we can do it, and one of the most important thing is the sample that was shared with all the participants here today. So I was just looking at the chats and I was really surprised the way the teachers are interacting, the school leaders are interacting is really commendable. We are getting active responses on all the questions and teachers are very actively participating in this session. So my gratitude and thanks to all the teachers. Now we are going to answer a few questions. So we have been closely observing the chat section and we have a few questions that were posted by the teachers. So I would request Miss Tanushri or Miss Nitika or Miss Shamali, any one of you can come forward and answer these questions. So here is my first question that was asked by Ritu Pathak ma'am. First of all, very warm welcome to the session, ma'am, and thank you so much for your questions and your participation. And this particular question that you have posted is a really important question, where you have mentioned that if I'm not wrong, SAFAL is basically to check the previous knowledge of the students. So I think Ms. Tanushri would be the best person to answer this question. So Ms. Tanushri, if you can just answer the question asked by Ritu Pathak, ma'am.
Sure. So basically, even I was noting down the questions, the queries that were coming up from the educators, and this was on number one, that are we assessing the previous knowledge? Yes, definitely. That is why when Ms. Samuli and Ms. Nitika was giving the presentation, they made it very clear that SAFAL is like bridging that from one stage to the other stage. It is not about rote memorization, like if the class is grade 3, doesn't need to study for SAFAL. It is that after finishing grade 3 or almost at the end of grade 3, whatever they have acquired, the real life experience from the very beginning, that is from the pre-nursery level to grade 3, that is going to be assessed. Another very important thing I think we have to mention over here is previous knowledge. Definitely, it is the previous knowledge of the child. But we have to also understand very important aspect is assessment is of the school. It is SAFAL doesn't provide an individual student assessment. So how through the curriculum progress from the nursery to KG, then grade 1, 2, and then 3, how the child, not only a single child, but as a class, that class 3 has moved on with all the experience. Because here it's not like, okay, tomorrow I am having my SAFAL assessment and today I am studying about it. Then there will be no difference between traditional exams and SAFAL. It's about the experience. It about what I have. If it is about fraction, it doesn't mean a question of fraction will be directly what is mixed fraction or any other type of fraction. It will be an application base, that if I have a pizza and I have to divide it among my friend, what fraction of it am I getting? So basically, if the child has been through that continuous process of learning, understanding and applying in their life, they don't need to study separately for SAFAL. And that is what it should solve the purpose. It should be, it is the previous knowledge at every stage. If I am in grade 5, it means that I, as a student of grade 5, completing my syllabus is not the question, but whatever knowledge I have acquired till grade 5 is going to get assessed. So here, it's not about the individual student report. It is about the school report that the school gets after testing through SAFAL. I think this answers the question.
Yes, indeed, ma'am. Ritu Pathak ma'am, if you, I believe that this answers your question, and if you just like the answer, you can just, put your reactions in the conversation box. We'd
Another
really love
thing,
to see
Jatin,
your
I
reaction.
would like to add over here is when we were means as we were discussing about the previous knowledge of the child, there was one question raised from your end to the educators. Then when this test need to be taken, end term, mid term, beginning of the class 9, because it is coming. So again, it is the school have to decide. See, the stage is grade 8. So whether you are having it almost in the means what time you want to have, the SAFAL do have their test papers live, and they do tell that schools do get to know about it when they are getting live. It is open for a certain period of time. So it's not a question of that specifically it has to be in the month of July or August or in the month of February. It's about a continuous process, how the school is going to take it up. In that way, they will give the assessment for the child. Another thing related to the same thing was sample papers. Yes, sample papers definitely is one of the features, but I think nowadays schools are maintaining their own repository, or they are already having an supportive digital tool or edtech means in collaboration with them. So school should maintain the repository, not only sample papers for SAFAL, but it should be like if I am teaching any particular chapter in the class, when I am preparing my question bank, my worksheet, it should cater the questions of all Bloom's taxonomy. That means it should not get limited. We all do it. We know it's not even the traditional paper is not that it will be only understanding and knowledge based questions. We do have application based analyzing question. The 10th board, 12th board paper, we are seeing how the shift is to more case based analytical approach questions. So yes, sample papers is definitely a requirement. We have to look over this, and at the same time school should also with the fellow teachers of the particular grade maintain their question bank repository. And here when you are practicing with the students, it doesn't mean that in grade 3 when you are practicing for the SAFAL paper, the repository of only grade 3 to be used. Since it is end of grade 3, that means from the beginning till grade 3, whatever has been done should be practiced with the student. However, since it's based on real life application, more than practice, what they have experienced will get reflected in the paper, means when they will give the exam. Another question, I'm taking it because I have also noted down the questions, and then I will take your question, Jatin.
Yes.
Why not social science? One of the educator has, and then there were certain other teachers who have mentioned yes, 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 that why not social science? When we speak in terms of environmental science, now if you say I won't call it as EVS, because NCF and NEP is saying take it up as a subject, world around us. This is integrated science as well as social science. That means the world that is around us, whether it is related to science or social science, both taken together is considered. So when it is for grade 3 and grade 5 course, the bridge course, the shifting, social science is definitely the part of EVS, or what we call today as world around us. So it's definitely there. Then there was one question related to, um, I think I have already taken this, but still would like to address it. Is it better to take at the beginning of the session? So beginning of the session, if the children are in grade 3 and at the beginning you want to have it, no, it's better that let them explore, let them understand, let them gradually progress through that grade 3 and then take the paper, the assessment, rather than at the beginning. Beginning can be grade 4, because by that time now they have evolved and cleared the stage. That is, we have to see these stages, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So the clearance of the stage or almost clearing the stage is important to take the assessment. Yes, please, I am repeating it again and again. SAFAL does not provide individual student assessment. It is the school assessment. How we as teachers, means if it is class 5th, then all teachers' teachings from grade 1 to 5 and how children have moved through this journey of this 5 years should get reflected in the assessment. So, yes, Jatin, any more question from your end or from the educators?
You have answered the most of the questions that came to us, right? There are no new questions in the chats as of now. But however, I had asked a question with all the participants today that whether do you need any support in order to understand better, or if you want to do the implementation of things. And many educators have mentioned, yes, we would like to have some support. So I would like to tell them all that you can reach out to us, you can visit our website, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And those who are having any kind of network issues with the live event today, you can just simply subscribe to our YouTube channel. This live event is saved, and the previous live events are also saved, where we have talked about project-based learning, art integrated projects, and interdisciplinary projects. So if you want to go through these videos, we believe that it is going to be very helpful to all the participants. So you can just subscribe and go back and watch these videos, and you can connect with us at any point of time to get any type of support. And these are our support handles. We have got our WhatsApp numbers, mobile numbers, and the website address has also been given along with the email address. So should you have any queries or questions or any kind of support that you need, Team Entab is there to help you out. And finally, it's time for us to just wrap it up. Please stay tuned for our next webinar series, because teachers like you, leaders like you, inspire us to do more and make teaching and learning a really engaging activity for the teachers and the learners as well. So that would be all for the day. Thank you so much once again, and I would like to thank my panelists as well, Ms. Tanushri, Ms. Nitika, and Ms. Shamali, for the valuable information insights they have provided for the theme today. So that's all for the day. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Please take care, stay safe, and enjoy the weekend coming up.